Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today presenting you my project Domestic Wilderness. It is a project that I led during the context of my master thesis at Zurich University of the Arts in specialization Trends and Identity. How did my monstera become my baby? Have you ever wondered what relationship you have with plants at home, or do you have any? That was a bit the first questions of my research. And yeah, this project investigates the relationship we have with our plants at home and within urban areas. And it questioned the boundaries of nature and culture, subject and object, and care and domination. Plants in a domestic sphere have become companions compared to pets and children. The topic explore interspecies relationship beyond animals, thus sometimes regarded as such. Bringing plants inside resulted in shaping not only interiors, but interior and interior decoration, but also our habits and emotional bonds with non-human entities. In the context of the Anthropocene, other urbanization also created a separation between nature and culture. And in parallel, there is a need for a deeper connection to nature. The population living increasingly in urban areas and further away from biodiversity. Although houseplants are not a new phenomenon, the first hype has happened during the Victorian era. There is a resurgence in recent years, also because of COVID-19 and the fact that we were more at home, and Instagram also giving it a big momentum. It resulted in a growing market of potted plants and the rise of numerous microtrends as well, with an impact on home decor, object design, spatial design as well. So I investigated the topic to answer the research question: how do humans and plants cohabit now and in the future? The notion of domesticity plays quite an important role in my project, because by introducing plants in indoor environments, we also have created a dependency of the plants, which loses its ability to live and strive by its own. At the same time, humans really depend intrinsically on the complex life system of plants, and this creates a codependency over which humans, of course, still have taken control or still have some control by bringing the plant inside. To conduct this research, I focused mainly on millennials, which is the generation identifying the most as plant parents, and also who brought the topic back to the fore. I conducted some home visits. You can see some pictures here that consisted of interviews and documentation with pictures. I also researched a lot on Instagram with the rise of communities and plant influencers, also the plant aesthetics playing a big role on Instagram. And I also interviewed some design researchers. In order to understand a bit more my positioning in this research, I'm gonna give some insight into my key or the theoretical framework or the key concept, but I'm really not gonna go too much into details. But first, a very important notion is the term, well, it's not a notion, but just the term nature, which is very extensively used in everyday life in our Western society to just talk about the forest, mountains, any wild areas. And the word has a big heritage from the Western philosophical culture that depicts nature as a romantic and idealized concept. This comes from Aristotle, who really separated nature and culture, with the culture related to human, and also a heritage of Rousseau, who really depicted nature as a romanticized thing. And today, philosophers are really, and professors really argue and warn against this romanticized view of nature. Donna Haraway developed also the concept of nature culture, challenging this dichotomy and recognizing its inseparability. So exploring philosophical and conceptual detour of nature gives a better understanding of the state of disconnection that we can have today with nature, and this need to go into the nature that a lot of people I interviewed also told me. It's that they want to bring nature inside because they also like to go into nature. Yeah, and to bring life to inert environment. Another concept I based my thesis on was affective ecology. It is a new branch of ecology focusing on the emotional relationship between human and non-humans. It overcomes the overly rational and cognitive approach addressing major environmental challenges. And this field blurs the disciplines, blur boundaries between the disciplines and highlight the significance of linking the social and ecological. I'm gonna talk a bit later about also the notion of heterotopy. So to conduct this project, I also, because I come from the field of trend research, we have this point of view of analyzing phenomena, and I did a trend scanning. So this craze for plants appears in different projects or objects, or lifestyles, or also design directions. So that helps to make the subject also tangible and relate also to some design projects. I classified those into categories. I'm also just going to present a few of the projects because there are very many. But one very interesting one that many of you know probably are those new urban jungles. In a modern Eden, the homes are turned into modern garden, and the plants are spreading in every corner of the interior and shaping a sort of jungle. Plants inhabit and influence our environment and shape our urban habitat. During the past 20 years, health has evolved into a more holistic lifestyle, combining self-care, healthcare, our environment and culture as interconnected aspect of life. And I created this category called symbiotic health, and within this idea, Martin Adzwa invites us to observe natural cycle through design objects as a way to rediscover the symbiosis of natural elements. He created Manential, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, sorry. That is a plant pot conceived as an invitation to familiarize and discover natural processes and reproduce an ecosystem capable of restoring natural balance of water. Within a domestic context, one can observe and replicate what is happening naturally outside through a ritual. It is thought very much of a ritual and not just an object. In this idea of caring for plants to a very great extent, we care for plants like humans sometimes, or pets or children's, and follows the codes of beauty or leisure sometimes. The Pavement movement, Pavement is a project that is more of a movement in general, and it is aiming to increase awareness about houseplants' rights by moving them from the inside to the outdoors with movable pots that are similar to pushchairs. Each pot is conceived for one type of plant, and it should consider the plant's characteristics of if they are fragile or not, for example. Another interesting idea or concept is that a lot of projects want to try to have conversation or to give a voice to plants. We are trying to communicate with them and to understand them also within our human language most of the time. Helen Steiner created Florence. It is a device using computation language, sensor and electrical stimuli, and it enables us to have a conversation with the plant. So it is, where is it? Yeah. With this project, the plant really, well, I haven't tested it, but apparently really gives you an answer to what you write. With all those either conceptual or concrete projects that I gathered, I could create categories on our affective relationship with plants. And I classified them into 4 categories according to the intensity of this bond with plants. The first one, plants as familiar aliens. Plants are sometimes considered as part of the extended family. They are familiar as in this context, so as part of the family, but within an incompressible otherness, like a civilization from another planet. And recognizing this kinship with plants is more difficult for us humans than with other mammals or animals in general. but we still need to reconsider, we still need to recognize the needs of their presence in our surrounding. Or many people have plants at home but don't relate very closely to them, but they still, there is still some sort of links between them. The second category, living plants as living objects. In this case, plants are valued for their aesthetic qualities and their ability to decorate a house, but also their abilities of living being to bring life to a space. They also create links between people who are sharing advice or sharing cuttings or pictures of their plants. As they would, some people I met had family, or not family, plant album on their phones, for example, sending that to their friends or family. I don't necessarily have time to read all the quotes, but those are all quotes from my ethnographic research. The next category, plants as silent healers. Plants are there recognized for their beneficial for physical health, but also, physical health in terms of purifying our air, but also for our mental health. Caring for plants is a relaxing activity, sometimes meditative as well. And they are our therapist, listening without judgment and serving sometimes as emotional compensation. They are compared sometimes to treats when someone is not feeling that well. One person told me she would get herself a new plant, for example, compared also to a cigarette sometimes. The last category, plants as exotic relatives. Plants are there really becoming part of the core family. They are compared to pets, plant care being similar to pet care. It is a relaxing and emotionally fulfilling activity, but requiring less responsibility. And this is the same kind of companionship that we can have with pets, for example. Some people consider also plants as their babies. It is a term that can come quite often. There is their strong emotional attachment. They're also on the Instagram, for example, there's some communities calling themselves actually plant parents. They are making baby plants when they're propagating, for example, and caring for them as their children almost, being anxious when they go on holidays, or being anxious to just ask someone else to take care of them. This creates new family dynamics. We make a family and construct this notion of family with different species in the home. Oops. Well, the conclusion of my findings was that plants are highly humanized and anthropomorphized. We attribute them behaviors and also project desires on them, but they're also becoming subjects and not only objects, acquiring an agency and some importance. Because I'm also a designer and wanted to research this project dimensionally as well, I created an installation that is a mix between a house for plants or a house plants or a greenhouse, sorry, and a living room. It is conceived as an intimate space, but also it is quite contradictory because it's made with transparent panels and transparent curtains. So it creates a bridge between this comfort of the private sphere and the public one. It is also an heterotopic space. That's a concept coming from Michel Foucault that describes well, it comes from the utopia, but utopia are imaginative spaces, whereas heterotopia are some cultural institutional places that are others. They are spaces within spaces, if we can say. Yeah, might not go too much into detail, but I created this room inside a room. The installation is constituted of different elements that participate to create new narratives. The first element is a photo series. During my whole research, pictures played an important role, also with all the material I gathered. And I created this photo series that is as a photo album where plants are the subject. It highlights the humanization of the plants and plays with it. It is exaggerated situations, but also quite ordinary. So showing, for example, occasions like a birthday party, or also capturing just everyday life interactions with plants. Another part of the installation are audio stories that the visitor can listen to in headphones. And three narrators tell an anecdote about one of their plants, looking through a family album or giving context of the picture. So the stories go also with the picture series, but it can also be seen separately. And those stories shows a possible future of cohabitation with plants, and it is inspired by my ethnographic research and own experience. Plants are given names and they are considered as companions. Those stories also defined a spatial or also a time frame, and it was quite important for me to in this installation to have quite playing with the space, but also audio visual different elements, not only visually. So the whole installation highlight the humanization of the plants and exaggerated it, but it is not just judgmental, if we can say, but trying to get to be more attentive to plant and relate to our own stories, let's say. The goal is to imagine new narratives and new worlds, new ways of cohabiting on Earth. And I used speculative scenarios, but they are very close to the present. They're present, a possible near future, if we can say. And that reflects on our current relationships to plants. I wanted the visitors to be able to participate in this installation and, as I said, not only be an observer of the whole phenomenon, but trying to immerse oneself. And what did I want to say? Here are some other pictures. This project was exhibited at the Stapferhaus Museum in May 2024, alongside an exhibition called Nature and Us. So I've been able to, as a side project, exhibit it there for a few days, and then also at the diploma exhibition at the Zurich University of the Art. I conducted this research with a speculative approach, but yeah, as I said, quite anchored in the present. And I think speculation and or speculative design and storytelling can really help to imagine new types of interspecies cohabitation, whether it's a plant, a pet, or another living entity. And yeah, see how they influence our in domestic space and how we construct our domestic space around them. I wanted to say. So I started this project from an ecological point of view, but this affective dimension really took a significant place in the end. And I think, yeah, there are a lot of potential for on researching more on those affective ecologies and this living material culture and connection to nature on a broader scale. So I invite you next time you water your plant, for example, to reflect on what relationships you can have with them, and think about their qualities as living being and their importance in your home. Thank you.